Are you ready to take your business to the top? Well, strap in and hold on tight. You're listening to the Top of the Wall podcast from Redwall Marketing. Business and marketing strategies to lift you above the competition and over the wall of mediocrity. Now, here's your host, J.R. Griggs.
Hey, it's JR here. Welcome to episode 6. This week, and I think next week as well, maybe longer, we're going to get into something really cool. I've got some cool stuff for you here on productivity and just organization, time management, and we're gonna cover that at least 2 weeks. I know I've got the next 2 weeks planned out for this, but the reason for that is that last week we did the 5 episodes in a row where we kind of set a foundation. We did kind of a boot camp jump start, if you will, for understanding what marketing is, the importance of it in your business, the importance of how everything in your business is marketing, and how much marketing is critical to your business. And then we went into the CPR method. We looked at those 3 ways to grow your business. And then, of course, each one of those had 5 different areas we looked at. And then each one of those 5 different areas had a bunch of tips. And what I find is that often when I talk about that subject, it becomes overwhelming for business owners. And it can just become sometimes where you'll stop dead in your tracks after hearing that because you don't know where to go next. You don't know what to do next, and how do you organize that all, and what do you do first, and which tasks are most important, and should you delegate some of it, and it can really be overwhelming. And so that's why I wanted to quickly jump into a couple productivity and, like I said, time organization type tips here that have really helped me in my business and have helped others when I've taught it. And this hopefully will help you just to get a better grasp of how to do these tasks and how to make your day a little bit more organized. And it doesn't work for necessarily everybody. We're going to be looking at a different method here today. But, again, think about the mindset. If you can just take a mindset away from this of being organized, because there's so many organizational systems out there. There's so many really good productivity hacks and teachings and books. But it's not necessarily that one is right over the other. It's which one's going to be right for you. But the most important thing is that you're trying to get organized. You're doing something to get organized. You're doing something to get your day together, your week together, your month together, and to make it, so that you're organized enough to have a successful business. That's what we're trying to do. So if this one works for you, great. If not, maybe some of the principles will work for you, or maybe just realizing that there's a different mindset that you need to truly be organized would be all it takes for you. So today we're going to look at essentially the book, Getting Things Done. It's an entire method. It's an entire process. But it started with a book, Getting Things Done. Or at least for me, it started with a book. I don't remember the author, David Allen. I don't remember if he started with this philosophy first and was teaching it first before the book. I think he was on his own, kind of. But the book has turned into an entire movement. I mean, it's turned into seminars and a whole forum and a community and workbooks and courses. And I think there's like Getting Things Done coaches out there you can hire that are, specifically trained by David in this philosophy. But it's grown that big because it really works. There's even a planner. I know there's a planner out there, but it really is a successful way of thinking. And even if you don't follow it 100%, because I don't follow it 100%, I'd probably have to read the book a few more times to fully grasp what everything he's talking about. But I can tell you this: after I read the book, I spent an entire week probably reorganizing my entire life, business and personal, to match some of the things that David taught in the book. I mean, I went and changed everything, and my filing system, the way I handle tasks, it all changed from just the advice I got in the book. So it was that impactful for me. I went right in full on with it. And a lot of people that I've talked to that have gone through it have done the same thing. They went out, they bought all the supplies needed, and they just made the change. Now, I'm going to go over the basics here, but I'm not going to be able to do the book 100% justice here. I highly recommend you get the book. And on this post, if you go to redwallmarketing.com, and you could probably just search for Getting Things Done, and you'll find this podcast, and I'll have a link to the book for you, so you get the right one. It is a great book. It is well worth the read, even if, like I said, just for understanding the mindset, just for understanding how your brain works and how it processes things. But I'm going to try to go through the key takeaways that I got from it, and hopefully you can have that same. You can take some of this and apply it, but if not, grab the book. I highly recommend that. But let me just go into the first thing here, which is the main principle behind getting things done, and that is that our brains are constantly weighted down with everything that's going on. They're constantly thinking about everything that you've got going on. No matter how tuned out you are, it's there. If you've ever felt that mental anguish, that mental just burden, like it's lifting weights all day, you know what I'm talking about. It's just a little bit of a stress. And if you're a business owner, not just a technician in a sense, or a laborer in a sense, things come at you a lot differently. What I mean by that, and he goes over this a little bit in the book, is that, if your job is to, dig X amount of feet of trench every day, you know what you have to do. You get to work and you know what you have to do. I mean, it's right there for you. When I was bagging groceries at Publix at 17, I'd get to work and I knew what my role was. I clock in and I go bag groceries. I look for, if there's nobody in this line, I look for the next line that needs the groceries bagged. When I was coming back into the store, I would grab carts with me. Any carts I saw, grab them, bring them in. That was my job. See a spill, clean it, very basic. I knew exactly what I had to do every day. Digging ditches, hanging drywall, bagging groceries, painting. You pretty much know what you have to do. You can physically see the work that needs to be done. You can physically see in your mind what it looks like completed, and you can go do it. Well, running a business is completely different or even an office job, by the way. It's not just running a business, but office jobs. Anytime you're dealing with a lot of paperwork, a lot of tasks, a lot of varying tasks, it's a whole different ballgame. You're not walking in, seeing some groceries that need to be bagged and start bagging them. You don't see some carts that need to be brought in and bring them in. You've got to process things a lot differently. And each project has several tasks and pieces to it. In fact, a lot of times we categorize tasks as what should be considered projects, and I'll get into that in a little bit here. But you have all these things coming at you, and your brain's trying to process it all, and it's not laid out for you. It's not lay, X amount of feet of tile today, or put in this carpet here. That's not the way it works, okay? So having things structured properly is critical to getting them done. And that's where we'll get into here. Your brain is trying to process all these different things. So let's say you're in charge of building, putting up a building. You're the project manager for an office that's going in. It's being installed. There are so many tasks, inspections to be called for, concrete needs to be poured, bids that need to be gone over, different steps that need to happen, electricians and plumbers. It's a whole new ballgame, and you've got to organize all that. How do you do it? How do you get all those tasks organized and ready to go? Emails coming in all the time. I was bagging groceries. I don't even think I had an email account back then. But email wasn't a big part of my day, okay? I didn't have a ton of different tasks coming at me in paper, digital, mailboxes. Didn't have it. I had set tasks. But in today's world, especially if you're in an office running a business or any field where you're involved in so many different areas, you're getting bombarded with email, mail, paper, requests, different things that are coming in. How do you organize this and get it done? Well, your brain can't do it. It's not built to handle the amount of things we have coming at it and get them done at the same time. It's just not there. And as soon as it's on your head, it's going to weigh you down. Okay? And this is one of the most freeing things is get it off your brain. Get it out. It doesn't belong there. It's of no use to you. Okay? If it's on your brain. So one of the big, mental fundamental areas of getting things done is getting it out of your head onto paper. That's a big thing. Just get it out of your head. Write it all down. And the first step was write everything down. And to organize my collections is what he calls them. And collection is anywhere that data or tasks or documents can collect. So we've got physical mail that collects. We've got email that collects. We've got tasks that are assigned to us that collect. We've got, tasks that are spoken to us that collect. We've got monthly tasks that need to be done on a monthly basis, paying bills or anything like that. They all collect. And so we gather our collections and we dump it all onto paper. It doesn't matter what it is. Even if it's the slightest reminder in your head that you've got to pick up your prescription at 5 o'clock, or you've got to pick up some photos, or whatever it might be, get it out of your head and onto a piece of paper. And that's the step one, okay? And then we're going to break them down. So we get it out of our head because our brain can't handle it, and we can't function properly, can't even sleep. You ever been trying to get to sleep, you just can't sleep because you're thinking about 100 different things? If you write it down on paper, you'll stop thinking about it, because as soon as it gets down on paper and you assign it some kind of some kind of method of accomplishment for that goal or task, your brain is, it feels like just a huge load lifted. You'll be able to sleep. So whenever you're struggling to sleep, get it out of your head, write it down, and once your brain knows that because it's on this piece of paper, you're going to do something with it, it can focus better on other things. It can focus on what it needs to focus on, which is functioning through the day and really thinking about the hard things. So step one, take all the collections, write them down. Don't leave anything on your brain. Then the idea is to organize these tasks. And one of the biggest things is breaking down tasks. And I mean breaking it down to the smallest level. For instance, replacing the front door of your home is not a task. That's a project. It seems like a task, and some people would just write down, got to fix the front door. But that is not a task. A task is when you break it down to the simplest parts, okay? What do I need to fix the door? Well, the handle's broken and one of the hinges are loose. Well, if I break that down, my first task is not fix the door. It's not replace the hinge. It's not replace the doorknob. It's go buy the hinge and go buy the doorknob. Or if I don't know which one I'm going to need, it's research the doorknob, research the hinge. Then it's buy the hinge, buy the doorknob. Then it's replace the hinge, replace the doorknob. There's several tasks involved in something as simple as fixing the front door. So that's what you've got to do with each task, is break it down to its finest, smallest, actionable step. It's got to be an actionable step. Can't replace the doorknob if you don't have the new one, right? You got to have the new doorknob to replace it. So you break it down to the first actionable step where you can actually move towards completing the goal. And that was huge for me because I was the one who would write down, fix the front door. And I wouldn't break down that task into something smaller. Just fix the front door. Well, now your brain's thinking of all the things that are required to fix the front door, and because of that, you're a little bit weighted down, but also because you haven't broken it down to the smallest steps, the next time you're passing the Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever your hardware store is, you're not going to necessarily remember to go in there because you haven't created an action step of going to pick up the item you need. You haven't done that yet. Your brain's not going to automatically do it for you. It's too busy watching the road and every other driver that's out there trying to kill you. So, until you break it down into the smallest steps, you're not going to get it done. And, if you were to have that step into a place where whenever you're out, you have a task list you can check for when you're on the road, there it would be right in front of you. Swing by the hardware store, grab the hinge and doorknob. Oh, and then by the way, you need diapers and milk and everything else is on there. That one little list, it's all organized for you because you broke everything down to the smallest tasks. So that's a key. Break it all down. And again, I'm telling you all this as best as I can, but you got to get the book to really get the grasp of this. Now what you got to do is once you've broken these tasks down, the idea is to assign these all to some sort of action plan. Something has to happen. What is it? So that's what you've got to identify. Okay, here's the task. Break it down into the smallest steps and what needs to happen. What has to happen first, second, third? What do I need to do? A great example of this is, we're heading to Canada in less than a month. And it's a big trip. We're going for about a month. It's a big trip coming up. I've got to break that down into as many tasks as I can. I can't just write down plan for Canada. I could set a time to brainstorm for Canada, and that'll break down my tasks. But from there, I had to break it down. Okay, what's Canada involved? Well, we got to cross the border. What do I need? So step one was contact both, the Canadian customs and American customs, U.S. customs, find out what we need. And then from there, I could break that down into, well, we need passports, birth certificates, driver's license, all that good stuff. We need to make sure we have all that. And then I could break down tasks for, I needed a passport. So I had to go get a passport. I scheduled a passport, meeting to go get my passport. I could break them down into little things, renting a car, booking hotels for the drive up. What are we going to do when we get there? What days are best to go where? Which places should we see? What kind of a budget do we need? You could plan all those if you break it down into the smallest tasks, and I was able to do that, and it's worked out well. We've got everything we need. We're ready to go 3 weeks early. Everything's in place. But if I had just said Canada trip and didn't break those down into the smallest tasks, I never would have gotten anywhere with it. So you got to break it down into the smallest tasks. Now, as you're breaking these things down, you're going to take all these collections and you're going to organize everything into an inbox. Okay? And we have tons of inboxes, email inboxes, which, by the way, we're going to go into how I end up every day with no email in my inbox. I do not leave email in my inbox when I clock out for the day. Doesn't happen. You've got your mailbox. I've got two mailboxes. We have an office business mailbox, home personal mailbox. I've got my email inbox, which I've got several different emails. They all pile into one inbox, but I've got several inboxes. And I have an inbox that's physical. It's literally a bin. It's my inbox. It's where other things go. So I take my collections and they go into the inboxes. So your email is a collection, your physical mail is a collection, and any other paper you get is a collection. So everything goes into an inbox, and that's where you start your day. And from your inbox, you have at least 3 other bins that you're going to be using. And you can do more. I'll show you what each of the bins, I'll talk to you about each of the bin, but you can have 3 minimum, but you're going to have possibly more depending on your day and your business. But you want to have an action inbox, an inbox, an action box or bin or folder, it could be digital or physical, a waiting for, and a maybe someday. Those are my 3 big ones that I have. And then in some places, not all, I have a projects bin and I have a delegated bin, okay, or folder or whatever. My task list has delegated in projects. I also have a read review, by the way. I forgot to list that one. A read review, which simply means I need to read this or review it. There's no action that needs to be taken. I'm not waiting for anything. It just needs to be read or reviewed for something. It could be anything. So you've got these different bins, and in the book it'll go over all of them and which ones work best for you. And you've got to organize from your collections, your emails, your physical mail, your conversations, and yes, conversations, because if you're talking to somebody and some tasks arise in the conversation, you've got to write those tasks down. Write them down, put them in your inbox. Just throw them in there. Here's the great thing. It's so freeing. I just feel it right now, like as I'm telling you this. The freeingness, the freedom of being on the phone with somebody, writing down a couple items that happened, a couple things that need to be addressed when you hang up, whether it's a superior or, an employee, whatever it is, or a client. You write these things down. The freedom of taking those things that are written down and just throwing it into this inbox that your brain knows, because you do this every day. Your brain knows you're going to go to that inbox and you're going to find it and you're going to assign it in some method is so freeing. I promise you, it's just so freeing, okay? And once you get into this mode of doing this, you're going to love it. I do. Again, I just love freeing up my brain to think about how to do it. Well, once you've got your inboxes created, you're going to go into your inbox, and the big rule is you never touch something twice. Never take something out of your inbox and put it back in your inbox. Never. Once it gets touched from the inbox, it gets assigned to one of the other bins, or it gets done right away. And here's the rule for doing it right away. If you can do it in 2 minutes or less, do it. So if I get an email in my inbox, it's automatically in my inbox, okay? And it requires a response that takes me less than 2 minutes. A simple question. Want to go here tomorrow? What do you think about this place for the meeting Friday? Can you talk Friday at 3? If I can check my calendar and respond yes or no within 2 minutes, I should do it right away. if I get mail that can be handled immediately because something needs to be done or whatever it is, if I can do it in 2 minutes or less, I do it right away. Okay? That helps me get rid of all the tasks that are super easy to do and don't take much time. If I can't do it in 2 minutes or less, but it's something that needs to be done, it's ready to be done. It doesn't need to be broken down into a smaller set of tasks. It's ready to be done. It goes into my action bin. In my email, that's a tag. I use Gmail to handle all my email for personal and company. So there's a tag, there's a label called action. I label it action and get it out of my inbox. So it's gone. It's not in my inbox anymore. I don't have to think about it. It's in my action folder, which I will address later in the day, and it'll get done, or it'll get done the next day or whatever. Okay? Because it's not important. It's in the action folder. We'll go over the importance in a minute. The next thing I have is a waiting for bin, which means that it's not something I can do right now, so it's not actionable. It needs to be waited. I have to wait. There's a response I'm waiting for, or I don't have all the pieces to it. I'm waiting for more information. Maybe I sent out an email to my staff and I've got a few responses I'm waiting for, and I can't take action on the responses until I get all of them. So I would funnel them into the waiting for folder until I got all my responses back, and then I can go back in and look at it and organize an action from there. So there's different reasons why you might need to wait. Different things, it's just something you can't do now or whatever, so you put it in the waiting for folder. And then I've got my maybe someday folder, which means it's not something I need to do right now. There's no action to it. I'm not waiting for anything. I'm just not sure if I want to do it. Could be an idea for a trip, could be a project I might want to start. So I put it in the waiting for. The maybe someday. Maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't. But it goes in the maybe someday folder. And I've got plenty of those. I've got, I think there was a project idea I had. I got some literature about it. It was something I thought about doing. So I put it in the maybe someday. I get product pitches or advertisement things or whatever. Maybe someday. Maybe I'll do it. Maybe I won't. It's not important. But it's off my head. I don't have to worry about it. And then I have scheduled time to go through all my folders. I have scheduled time to sit down, look through my actions, look through my waiting fors, look through my projects, my delegated, my maybe someday, whatever bins I'm going to create. And I can then pick out which ones need to be assigned to action. If I'm looking through my maybe someday and I see this project that, I really wanted to do this, I put it aside, and I'm going to have time next month. I'm going to go ahead and move this into the action. I'm going to brainstorm it into smaller tasks and put this in my action folder. The point is that you're taking all these collections of data and tasks and other info, you're streamlining it into one place, an inbox. So email's piece of cake. Email's automatically going into an inbox, so it's already streamlined. In the case of physical stuff, I have my inbox. I don't consider my mailbox my inbox. And the reason why is it's not always for me. If I go to the personal mailbox on the way home, or I walk down to the mailbox, I grab my mail. Some of it's going to be for my wife. Some of it's going to be junk. Some of it's going to be something for me. Well, what I do is I take those and I separate the garbage, my wife's, and then I take my stuff that's for me, and I may not open it right then. I'll just throw it in my physical inbox, which is on my cabinet here, right next to me, actually. So I would throw it into this physical inbox. And then right next to that is my 3 bins. I got a stackable 3 bin where I put my physical stuff. So at the time that I have a chance to go look through my inbox, I'll start opening the letters. And in fact, I just got my tax renewal, business tax license renewal. So I got that. It's in my inbox. When I go to check my inbox later today, go through it, I'm going to open that piece of mail. I already know what it is just because it says on the top, tax collector. I get one every year, so I know what it is. But I can then take that, and if I decide that I have 2 minutes or less to go online and pay it, I can do that. Or I may throw it in the action folder for another time when I have a little bit more, time to work on it, and then pay it that way. So that's kind of the idea. So, and it helps me not lose focus. If I were to just take that item and put it aside because it came in the mail, it could sit on the counter for a week or two. I might get a penalty for not paying on time. it may get shuffled in with something else. But the fact that it's in my inbox, that's safe. And here's the other thing that happens with the inbox. Because I've designated that inbox, my wife, kids, they know my inbox at home. They know that that's where they put anything that's for me. Anything that comes in from me goes in that folder. Something comes in from the mail, they don't have to worry about where to put it. It goes in that bin. And then I'll deal with it later. They know I'll deal with it later. In fact, they could even leave me notes and throw it in there because I'll deal with it later. So if there's something that they want to ask me, but there's no chance to ask me at that moment, they could always write it down, throw it in there, and I'll deal with it when I get home because it's there. I'm ready to go. So having that place to store the info is enormous. And having a place to spread out that info into the action waiting for or what have you is amazing. And that is how I get to 0 inbox every day. I do not have emails in my inbox when I leave the day because I don't want them to build up. So every time I get an email, if I can't do it right then and there, in less than 2 minutes, it goes into the action. Or again, if it's something that's waiting for, or might be junk or whatever. But if it's an actionable item that's going to take me more than 2 minutes, I put it in my action folder. And then later, when I'm done with all the other pressing things, the things that are a little bit more important than the thing I just got, okay, I go through my action folder and I bang out as many of those as I can. And then the way I decide, and the way that the Getting Things Done talks about deciding how to get it done is a few things. One, how important is it? How much time is it going to take and how much time do you have? And then you should also consider your, mental and emotional state at that time. Do I have the energy to do this? I mean, if I've got to write something, do I have the energy to write this 300-word thing right now? Is my mind clear enough? Am I awake enough? Or should I go take a 20-minute walk first? What tasks are the easiest to do? If it's 4:30 and you're planning on leaving at 5 or 5:30 and you want to leave at 6 or whatever the case may be, you got a half hour left of work time that you've scheduled for the day. Obviously you don't want to start the task that takes 45 minutes. And if you want to get the most done in your action, folder, you might want to grab, 4 or 5 tasks that take 5 minutes, so that you can bang those out and have a bunch done before you leave. So you've got to consider how much time you have, how important it is. I mean, obviously, if it's urgent, do it. I mean, like I said before, I'll throw things in the action folder, but if something's urgent, that's what's going to get done first. So that's what I'm going to go after first. But the basic idea is get it off your brain, get it into a collection of inboxes, regardless of where it is. I generally have just the 2. Email and my physical. I also have a task list that I use. I use a program called TOTW, which is a to-do list built around the Getting Things Done method. So it's really good because I can take those tasks. And so obviously, if my wife mentions that we need something or I got to pick something up, it doesn't make sense to write that down, throw it into an inbox, and then organize it later. I can just open up my phone or open up the program on my web browser and add it as an action task. And then on my phone, I have that action task. So if it's a physical paper item, it's going to be in, and sometimes I'll transfer physical to digital. If it's a physical thing I get in the mail that needs to be done and I don't need the paper to do it, I don't need the physical item to do it, I will often just put it in my to-do list. So that way it's there in front of me and I can throw away that paper. It doesn't have to sit in my physical action. What's in my physical action bill right now, or bin right now, as I'm looking at it, I'm looking over there right now. I've got the tax thing right there. I've got the there's a game that for my son's Wii that's scratched that I'm going to try to fix for him. So that's sitting in my action bin. I've got some other papers over there. I can't see what they are. They're buried under, there's a folder. So there's some other papers there. Actually, there's some notes that need to be scanned. There's some notes that I took that I want scanned digital. So they're in the action. Okay, as you can see, the game, going to fix that as soon as I can, of course. The tax thing, got to pay that as soon as I can. The notes, I could scan those just about any time. There's no emergency. So those notes could sit in there for a week or two. I don't care. Whenever there's enough time in my day to do it, I'll do it. But it's off my brain because it's there. It's going to be done at some point, so I don't worry about it. In my waiting for, there's a coupon for AT&T that I got the other day. I think I put it in waiting for because I do plan on buying something. So it's there for me when I need it. There's I can't see what else is over there, but actually there's a brochure for something that I probably wanted to look at. But the idea is that I don't have these things on my head. They're out of my head. They're in a filing place where they're out in the open. They're not, out of sight, out of mind, because the idea is go through them every week. Don't put it there and ignore it. You go through it every week. So that's the basic idea. That's the biggest thing, honestly, that I got out of getting things done, the book. That was the biggest mental breakthrough I had, was having the ability to get it off my brain, to break down to the smallest actionable tasks. If it's not an actionable task, it doesn't belong in one of your bins. Okay? Canada trip is not an actionable task. Fix the front door. It's not an actionable task. Got to break those down into the smallest parts. Okay? And again, just another idea of what waiting for would be. You could go back to the front door. If the step one tasks are go buy the hinge, go buy the doorknob, you can still create your tasks for replace the hinge, replace the doorknob, but those go in your waiting for, because you're waiting for the first step of the purchase to replace it. So I don't know if I covered that, but I will create the tasks, and typically what I'll do with that is that's going to go in my to-do list, because that's where it belongs. It belongs in my to-do list, a digital to-do list, so that and I tag it errands, so I look for errands when I'm out. And I'm at the store, I can look at my errands list and see how many things I have to buy. So I can see, I need ink, paper, a hinge, I need a doorknob, I need tape. I automatically know I need those things because they're there. They're labeled errands. Okay? Same thing with phone calls. I label all phone calls as phone calls. So there's the bin, but there's also a label so that they're grouped together. Because, as you know, if you group tasks together, if you're making phone calls, your best bet's to make as many phone calls as you can in that period of time. Go from one phone call to the next, because you're already in the mode of dialing and talking on the phone. But anyway, that's the best thing I got out of that, was getting it out of my head down into actionable tasks. So try that with your business, and get the book first. I know that I'm trying to explain this as best as I can, but in about a half hour, it's really difficult to do. But get the book, and you'll really understand the psychology of it. The other two things that the book covered that was really good was filing system. I redid my entire filing system based on the book. He's real big on having one folder per item, where I used to have like a folder called bills. And although I do a lot of digital now, I still deal with a little bit of paper. Most of it's digital now. I don't get electric bills anymore. It's all digital. I don't get phone bills anymore. It's all digital. But when I did, I used to have a single folder called bills. Well, that's a horrible way for your brain to go find the electric bill. You're digging through this big folder. So his thing was, separate each one. You should have an electric bill folder, and you should call it whatever you would call it if somebody said, "What's in your hand?" So if you're holding your electric bill in your hand, you generally wouldn't say the name of the company. You'd say, "It's my phone. It's my electric bill. It's my phone bill." So he, categorize it as that, one thing per folder, alphabetical order. So even like furniture, if I buy furniture that's got instructions, like, we love IKEA, so we get plenty of IKEA furniture, I'll keep the little booklet that came with it in the cabinet on its own, with even the little Allen wrench or whatever tool that came with it in that folder, so that if we move and I need to take it apart, I can easily do so. So that's helped me a lot with my filing. Not everybody's going to use that. And then there's also an interesting thing about Tickler file system, which we're out of time to get into, but that's something worth looking at. It's called a Tickler system, Tickler file system. I don't deal with enough paper to use it, but it was a pretty cool system for anybody that deals with a lot of paperwork from day to day where you need forms. It's a great system. So, take that for, hopefully that helps people get some ideas, helps you get some ideas on how to organize your tasks and how to get things off your brain and into actionable plans. Again, this is the, footnote version, cliff note version, whatever you want to call it, of the book. It really doesn't do it justice. I highly recommend you get the book, and it'll help you get that mindset of, how to structure your tasks and get them done. So if you are following any of the advice from the first 5 episodes, you might be looking at your business and going, gosh, I need to fix these 5 things. Well, take those 5 things, break them down to the smallest tasks, put the actionable items, the first steps in your action folder so that you know these are what I have to do next. Put the others in waiting for. I can't tell you how freeing it is to know that the first items are going to get done. And then as soon as they're done, you're going to go check your waiting for, and you're going to move those into action. And he has plans for that, by the way, like a daily review, a weekly review, a monthly review, a yearly or quarterly, a yearly. You've got reviews that you're going to do on a constant basis of your systems, which would answer anybody that's asking, well, what if I'd never get it out of the waiting for? Well, every day you should be checking your waiting for folder. And every week you're going to be checking the bigger items in your waiting for folder and how that's working out. So you've got plenty of time to go over them and see them. That's going to be it for today. I don't want to go too much further because even this is overwhelming. But I promise you, get the book, take a look at some of these tactics and methods, and even if you wanted to just take the advice you got today, hopefully I broke it down simple enough that you could, and see how you do. See how you do for a week. And just head over to the website, redwallmarketing.com. You'll have a link. I'll have a link to his website and the book for you on this page. So redwallmarketing.com, do a search for Getting Things Done, or just look at the latest podcast, or depending on when you're listening to this, you could do a search, and you'll see the links to the book and their website where there's a lot more tools for you to use. So that's it. I hope that you are able to get a little bit more organized after this, and next week we're going to do another episode on some organization tips and strategies, and I don't know if it'll go any further than that, but I just felt like that was a great follow-up to the intro so that I can help reduce some of that overwhelm and help you organize some of this to help your business grow. I'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening to the Top of the Wall podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the great episodes coming up for you. For more resources and tools to take your business to the top, visit redwallmarketing.com.